Ions. Ions are formed when electrons are transferred. Elements are non-charged. They are neutral because the number of positively charged protons inside the nucleus equal the number of negatively charged electrons that orbit the nucleus. When different atoms gain or lose electrons, they become charged and they become ions. Ions can either be a single atom like sodium 1 plus, which comes from the loss of one electron, or it can be a group of atoms like nitrate NO3 1 minus. Normally, elements try to get to the full outer shell like noble gases when they gain or lose electrons, because the full outer shell means more stability, so more stable electronic configuration. When we look at metals like sodium, sodium has one electron in its outer shell. Sodium tends to lose this one electron, and then as it does so, it will have a positive charge. It will give you a sodium ion with one positive charge, as the number of electrons now are less than the number of protons by 1. So it's 1 plus. Nonmetals like chlorine, for example, have 7 electrons in their outer shell. So chlorine, in order to reach the stable configuration with a full outer shell, it needs only one electron. So chlorine can gain one electron, and that will lead to formation of the chloride ion, where now there are one electron more or one more negative charge of the electrons than the number of protons inside the nucleus. So they will give you one minus negative ion. When you look at the periodic table, you can predict what type of atom, what type of ion the different elements will form. So group 1 elements, they all have one electron in their outer shell. So all group 1 elements, which are metals, tend to lose one electron to give you 1 plus ions. Group 2 elements, they all have 2 electrons in their outer shell, and they lose these 2 electrons to give you 2 plus elements, 2 plus ions. Group 3 elements, they have 3 electrons in their outer shell, and they lose all the 3 electrons to give you 3 plus ions. Group 5, 6, and 7 are all non-metals, and they tend to gain electrons rather than losing electrons. So group 5 elements have 5 electrons in their outer shell, and it's easier for them to gain 3 electrons in order to reach the full outer shell of 8 electrons. So they gain 3 electrons to form 3 minus ions. Group 6 elements have 6 electrons. They gain 2 more to give you 2 minus ions. And group 7 elements, they have 7 electrons. They gain 1 extra electron to form 1 minus ions. There are some ions that you need to know, like silver, Ag+, copper, 2+, iron 2+, which is iron 2. There is also iron 3+, which is iron 3, lead 2+, zinc 2+, hydrogen plus. And there are also the group of atoms which form ions like hydroxide OH-, ammonium NH4+, carbonate CO3 2-, nitrate NO3-, and sulfate SO4 2-.